Aloha and welcome to the Bear Wozniak Adventure. We're coming to you. Some of you are able to listen to this and watch this live on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you want to be one of those lucky people, you got to follow me. The best thing to do is go to deepadventure.com or bearswave.com. They take you to the same place, and then we can link you to the live Facebook video of this radio show or the live YouTube. And it's so cool because you get to see what our guests look like. And today we have someone, probably the best looking person we've ever had on our show. We have Rose Rea. Aloha, Rose. Welcome to our show.
Hi.
It's good to see you. Rose is a repeat guest. And that's kind of rare. Most of our guests are so bad we never have them back. But we have Rose Rea with us. And she's doing something groundbreaking, something really powerful. She is the editor of two magazines, one for women and one for men, and never the twain shall meet. Is that right, Rose?
That's well said. Well said.
So you have two magazines. You have Valiant magazine for men, and you have Radiant magazine for women, and they're beautiful magazines. I remember I used to get a magazine called, I think, Outdoors or Backpacker magazine, and they had some great visual, beautiful images and great articles. For some reason, it kind of reminds me of that. They're just beautiful stories. Probably the best one of all are the ones about me, that are in there. Let's just face it, But no, it's so cool. So I want to talk, Rose. Well, let's get into this first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your personal life. But we want to know all the details about your husband. But just kidding. But tell us about, first of all, Radiant Magazine. What inspired that, and what is that about?
Yeah, Radiant Magazine is such a gift of love. As you love the outdoor magazines growing up, I loved seeing the beautiful pictures and learning about maybe what's going on. And always just, it spoke to me. Everyone has a different medium they love, whether it's TV, radio. And I just loved, you feel kind of transported when you can step into these other worlds that these people are traveling and whatnot. And my Catholic faith was always very dear to me. So I realized early on that these publications that were out there in the grocery stores were very empty feeling. It was like, buy that nail polish, do this position. If you have this clothes, it's going to be your best summer. And I remember thinking, none of that matters. I mean, I'm not going to be a better person if I have the blue shirt for summer versus the pink nail polish. And I wanted to know, and I grew up in a really small town there in North Dakota, like 1,600
Yeah,
people.
where is it, by the way? What small town is it?
It's called Park River. Did you guys go through North Dakota on your
No, but
motorcycle?
I was born there.
Oh, I remember. I think we talked about
Yeah,
that.
it's like
Where were you
Father.
born again?
Well, Powers Lake.
I don't know where that is.
It's way to the northwest, I think, someplace. And then lived a few years in Valva. I'm kind of like Father Mitch Pacwa. I was born in North Dakota, but I got to Hawaii just as fast as I could.
I can imagine.
I always imagine Father Mitch wearing diapers and cowboy boots and walking down to Texas from Chicago. But yeah, so where is this town? Where's this little town? We want to do a shout out to it.
It is such a teeny little town called. I would have been opposite of you. And when I remember seeing a magazine, it was called You Magazine. And it was a Christian magazine when I was little. And that was the first time the light went off for me there, saying, wow, this person is beautiful and vibrant and they care about God, because you just didn't have a lot of really faith products that kind of brought in the culture and God. It was like one or the other. And I just remember thinking, I'm not alone. I have people who, this actress is lovely. So that really started the fruits and the seeds for me. And then through the years, I majored in communications at Franciscan University, and I just always felt called to do publications. I've always been in them. I worked for secular ones that I love, design ones, and then I just felt called by God to just do this. And fun. It's been such a gift. And for us, we do some exterior things because girls want to do makeup and they want to look cute modestly and different things. But I mean, 90% of our publication is feeding your soul, talking to your heart. How do you be kinder to people? What does real friendship mean? How do we go deeper in our faith? But it's all kind of wrapped around this really beautiful, aesthetically pleasing publication.
So your magazine is called Radiant Magazine for women, right?
Yes.
So do you ever do the 10 things every man wants in a woman and stuff like that, or like
Oh, we have so many fun things we
give me
cover.
an example. Give us a couple
One we did,
examples.
yep, one of them we did a couple years ago was 10 things he really likes about you. Because girls just have this perception I have to be this way, this way, this way. But you know what? That might not always be important to a guy, especially one who cares about you completely and not just you as an object.
Yeah, a
Those
real
guys,
man, a real man.
a real man. Well
Right.
said.
Right. I mean, you can follow all those other things. Say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'll get myself a man. But you're going to get the wrong man. You're not going to
Yep.
get a real man, right?
Yep.
So what?
Yep.
Okay. So what are the 10 things? Give us a few examples of those. We're curious.
Oh gosh. I'm
Do
trying
you
to think.
remember a few of those?
I'm gonna try to remember. She did this a couple years ago, but it was so great. She was kind of like, they actually love your confidence. They love your sense of humor. They love it when you're not afraid to share how you feel without, constantly kind of, oh, I'm too scared to share my real personality. So those are some of the fun things that, of course, you want to look pretty and stuff, but those are a deeper level of sharing who you really are
I mean,
with these guys.
there's so many pretty women in the world, but there aren't a lot of beautiful women. It's a
Yeah,
huge
I agree
difference.
with
And I mean,
Yeah.
you could put makeup and look all pretty, but what about that? There's a certain inner beauty to a woman who knows who she is and has that radiance of love and maturity and grace that for a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful women who don't know Jesus. I'm not saying there isn't, but for a woman who really knows the Lord and walks in virtue and humility before God and man, that is inner beauty. Okay, I got something. You talk about the sense of humor. Men like it when a girl will laugh and play and tell jokes, but you know what we really like is when a woman laughs at our terrible jokes.
Oh, I know. I have a husband who loves when I laugh at his jokes.
And they're horrible, right? They're just
But they're
horrible.
really, no, they're not always horrible. Sometimes they're really funny. And know that we laugh out of love. Most of the time we get the jokes. Sometimes we don't. But
So that downward squirming sort of look, isn't called laughing. You got to actually laugh. After I interviewed Dr. Peter Kraft, the last person that we interviewed, after we got off the air, he told me like what we would call a dad joke. It's just a really, just a bad joke, but it was hysterical that Dr. Peter Kraft told it to me off air. I wish he had told it to me on air. It was so funny. It was about, I don't even remember what it was about. It was a bear joke, something about bears. But yeah, so we love it when a woman will be playful, but we also love it when a woman will actually laugh at our jokes, make that effort to laugh at our jokes. So what are we looking for? The Proverbs 31 woman. You check off that list. What would you say are the elegant virtues that a woman should be pursuing in her life? And you got 10 seconds. Okay, time's up. Time's up.
Oh.
No, just kidding. Go ahead.
you are mean. You said it so well. I think what is so lovely in a woman is that inner beauty, first of all, like you were saying, and where they literally shine. That's kind of where radiant came to him. In the Bible verse, all that look to him are radiant because it's not about us. It's not about making us so wonderful. It's about shining his love. And when a woman does that, I've met those girls where you're like, wow, she has a beautiful heart. And again, I know looks matter too. It is a package, but there's something about your soul and your heart. And so that's really beautiful. Humility and I think loyalty, and guys may not say this, but I believe in my whole heart that's so important to them to not be wondering if they can trust that woman they're spending this time with.
Especially these days, there's a lot of men that won't even consider having a relationship with women anymore. They're just scared that they'll be with someone who, 5 years after they marry them is just going to leave them, take all their money, take the kids and run, So it's a tough time. Loyalty is very important.
Yes, and all of the virtues, but I think humility is huge. And just being a genuinely real person, say what you mean what you say, and follow through with that. And I know there's a huge thing right now, Bear, in our issue, actually, our latest issue of Radiant, which is Radiant Hope. We had 2 different articles on friendship because even woman to woman, you have these catty girls who will be your friend only when they get what they want, only when it is for their schedule. And you have these it's happening with a lot of girls in high school and even college where their hearts are broken because they've been rejected by their friends because they haven't fit into this mold. It's like being broken up with a boyfriend. And I just saw so much of it this year with some girls, and that not in my own life, but I've heard them talk about it. I've been blessed with wonderful friends, and I just thought, this is not okay. Like, these girls, you need to find, even if it's one friend, Bear, even if these girls have one
Right.
friend,
One
you
friend.
need someone
Yeah.
who's genuine.
And then nurture that friendship.
Yeah.
We're about to take a break here, but the speaking of friends is very important. Men also are very lonely. They'll talk
Yeah.
about politics, which is usually a waste of time because bunch of opinions and no action, or sports, but they won't talk about what's really going on in their lives. And I'm very guilty of that. I found that on Sunday afternoons now, I'm making a point to call 2 or 3 of my friends and just nurturing that relationship because it's so important. We're talking with Rose Rea, the most beautiful guest we've ever had on our show. And she's married to a wonderful man we've had. He's the mystery guest we had on our show. Remember, we didn't mention him by name because of his occupation. She's the editor of Radiant Magazine and also Valiant Magazine. Radiant is for women, Valiant is for men. This is the Bear Wozniak Adventure. We'll be back with more with Rose Rea. Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Wozniak Adventure. Our creed at Deep Adventure Ministries says the most radical thing you can do in life is abandon yourself to the wild adventure of God's will. Recently, I actually had someone write to me and ask me the question, I'm torn between adventure and taking care of my family. How do you balance the two? And my response is the greatest adventure you can have is have a family. I mean, you're in a relationship with an immortal being, and you're bringing immortal beings into life. I mean, by immortal, once someone is conceived, they will live forever. Maybe not physically, but in their soul. And what greater adventure could there be? Riding a Harley across the United States, free falling out of an airplane, dropping into a 24-foot wave at Waimea. How can that even come close to comparing to having a child that you build a sandcastle with? The most radical thing you can do as a man is to have the adventure of loving and caring for a family. We have as our guest Rose Rea. We love her husband, too. He's a warrior, and we've had him on our show under a hidden name. Now I've kind of given his name, who he is, away because I've mentioned he's married to you. We love our military people. Our second season of Long Ride Home is dedicated to them. But we have Rose Rea with us. And Rose, will you tell us, I'm going to ask you a real hard question. So I had a discussion with a very serious, clear-minded, devoted Christian young man recently. And he said he's very concerned about ever being married because he sees the breakup in marriages, and he has this fear of women who will marry, and then, the guys go to college and start making money, they start establishing a life, and pretty soon it's all gone. What counsel would you have for those young men? Because I call them, I challenge a lot of them. I go, you're cowards. You're dating a woman and you won't marry her. But then I get this response, which I think is legit. What kind of counsel would you have to say to these young men that are really living in this, we're living in a fallen world and it looks like it's getting darker?
Yeah, and you know what? He's so valid in even asking that question because I think his fears are right based upon what he's been seeing in the secular world. So first of all, he's got to find a good woman. And I think to add on what you just said about the greatest adventure about a family, again, we know my husband is special forces, and so he gets to jump out of airplanes. He gets to go scuba diving at night. He gets to do all of these, airplanes, night diving, things that every man would say is super filled with adventure. That's easy for him compared to dealing with his family because it is with these immortal beings, with a wife, with children. I mean, all bets are off. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know how they're going to react. I mean, it is a challenge. But at the same time, like you said, building a sandcastle with your son, when he's able to form these little beings now. Our oldest son is turning 9 tomorrow, into these strong young men. There's just nothing like it. You're a father. You can attest to the adventure and the fulfillment. So for this guy who's scared and not sure, it's absolutely founded. But what he needs to do is he needs to let go, and he needs to ask God to guide his heart. Because, and I don't know how you felt in your personal life, but just from my husband, what he has said, he didn't really want to get married either. He was doing his thing. He was having a blast, had his all money. But then when he met me, when a man meets a woman that they're meant to spend their life with, something happens. Would you agree that something goes off where it says, I want that person. I'm not stopping till I get that person. And if the guy doesn't feel that, they do. They need to buck up on some courage, because who cares if you get rejected? You have to try. And so I think that that he shouldn't be afraid of taking that risk, because love is a risk. And sharing your money is not ideal, but you know what? The fruits last forever. I mean, that is the beauty of having marriage and a family.
Someone was on my show yesterday, the Grumpy Dad, Rich Lamb, and it's kind of cool because he said he saw a car that he was driving behind. He's in his minifan, and he sees this probably like a Jeep in front of him. It has a picture of two wives, a husband and wife, and 4 kids and a little dog. And then next to it, there's a couple, a man and a woman. They're both carrying money bags. My instant reaction was, wow, what a poor trade-off that would be to have money instead of a family. But the person in the car was making a statement. He would much rather have the money than the family. Try that gold gets heavier and heavier. I remember my dad has a really bad dad joke. All right. My dad was a professional speaker. And so he always had to come up with new jokes. Usually they were really bad. He's also a deacon, by the way. But he has one joke where this very rich man said, God, I've lived probably the best life of anybody other than Jesus. I'm very worthy. I know I can't take anything to heaven, but can you make an exception? And God said, yeah, you're absolutely right. You absolutely can. I'll make an exception for you because you've lived an exemplary life. So he says, I can bring anything I want. And he goes, yeah. So he gets to the gate, and St. Peter's there like, dude, what are you doing with a backpack? And he goes, God said I could have anything I wanted to bring to heaven because I live such an exemplary life. Look it up on the internet. And he looks it up. Yep, you get to bring anything you want. Well, what did you choose to bring? And he opens up his backpack, and it's these big gold cubes, like 100 pounds worth of gold. And he goes, St. Peter goes, dude, you brought pavement, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the only thing we can take to heaven with us is other people, right? So yeah, the trade-off. Where's your wealth? Remember the deacon that was challenged to bring the wealth of the church to the emperor, and what he brought, he said, give me 3 days to collect all of the wealth of the church. And then what he presented to the emperor was the poor people of Rome. That's the wealth is people. So I'm sorry, oops, almost knocked my microphone over. You got something you want to say? Just let it out.
No, I just couldn't agree with you more. And I think all of us, you, me, every single one of us have to be reminded of that. Because how easy is it in our life to say, oh, if I only had this, I could do my ministry so much better. They maybe have more money, or, and we have to take a step back and constantly keep ourselves in check, or I have to, and say, no, this is what God has asked of me, to be right here where I am. And I have to say a constant yes, even if not everything's perfect, even if I don't have every resource that I need. But it's all about, I love when you're reading some of the books of the saints, Saint Faustina and Saint Teresa of Avila, where they're saying, God cares about your intention, not even if you can follow through. He cares about your intention, saying, giving all and saying, yes, I will do what you ask, Lord. Because society measures it production, production, production. But that's not the case with God, which I think is just so beautiful. What a loving God.
And the men especially are so focused on production, so focused on work. And I always tell them, well, your most productive work is to pray. The liturgy of the hours are a great way to pray. Liturgy means the work of the people. The most productive work we can have is to spend time. Our first priority in life is to love God back. And then to move mountains in prayer, especially by praying the rosary, to intercede, slay dragons for your children. So now let's switch subject a little bit here. You are the editor of Radiant Magazine.
Founder, yes.
The
So I have a girl who
founder.
edits for me, but yes.
Okay. You're what we call in Hawaii high maka maka, or we also call it yo somebody. Like when you
Oh,
surf in contests, there's the
oh,
legends, there's the menihuni, there's all kind of different levels, and then there's this kind of sideways category called the yo somebody high maka maka heats, where like the bankers and the businessmen and all those guys go and compete with each other. So you're high maka maka. We get it. You're the founder. Okay. So
but
now,
I only say that because I can't edit. So it's actually a shout out to the people who do edit.
yeah, isn't it true? I know, Rose. Like
No.
in my TV show, I mean, I go, dude, you really are awesome. And I go, dude, you don't even know. I spend how many minutes in front of the camera, and then the editing people and the camera people. It's all about them. It really is. It's not false humility, is it? It really, and they do a beautiful job with your magazines.
It is, and it's a team. My designer, the girl who helped, then my editor, so it's a beautiful team. But I want to make sure we hear that. But
yeah. Hey, we're going to take a break here in a moment, but before we go, introduce us to you as far as you're a mother, you have some children, and the kind like that.
Yeah, so my husband and I got married when we were 23. I'm 33 now, and we're expecting our fifth. So life has been busy between all of my husband's deployments and whatnot, but God has been good. And now, Bear, just the last time I talked to you, I was publishing all these. We were sending them out nationwide, and we just recently were acquired by Our Sunday Visitor.
No,
so
you weren't. No, you weren't.
Growing.
No,
yes.
you weren't.
Yes.
No, you weren't. They're very, very picky about what they do, So
Well,
I don't believe you.
It was a treat because when I met with the president, he said, well, he hadn't read our content yet, Bear. And he said, we have a very high standard of the content that we have. And I said, I understand.
Oh, believe me, your content is amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, the quality of your magazine is amazing. And what a blessing, because now this magazine will get out to a lot more people. And people can find you. Where can they subscribe to the magazines? Give me that, then we'll take our break.
Sure. So now with being a part of Our Sunday Visitor, they can go to radiant.osv.com for Radiant, and Valiant is valiant.osv.com.
So radiant.osv.com and valiant.osv.com. Radiant is for women, Valiant is for men. Hey guys, I know the truth. Women will subscribe to Valiant just so they can give it to their husbands. Kind of leave it casually on the coffee table. We'll be right back. This is Bear Wozniak with the Bear Wozniak Adventure. You can find us at bearwozniak.com. Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Wozniak Adventure. We have so much reason to be joyful. When they check out what does it take for someone to become a saint, they got to check them out. Were they true to Catholic teaching? Did they live a moral life? Have there been miracles done through their intercession? But one of the proofs that you're a saint is that you have joy. In this world where things are kind of seem to be getting darker, and you never seem to be able enough time to get all your kuleana or your responsibilities done, you can have joy because Jesus is living in your heart. I think it'd be so cool if you were walking down the beach. I do that every day. I walk along the beach. Some of those people love Jesus and have devoted their lives to Jesus, been baptized, and are moving on in Jesus. When you love Jesus, your heart is full of light. And I just wonder what it would look like in the spiritual realm to see some light, some hearts just lit up so bright, and others just kind of darkened. All you need to do is just recognize that Jesus loves you, love him back, and live in the moment. Don't worry about tomorrow, and let joy be evident in you. One of the writings says, be ready to give a reply for the reason for your hope. Let your face be radiant. And that is one of the names of a magazine our guest Rose Rea edits, or is the founder of. Rose Rea, aloha, and welcome back to the Bear Wozniak Adventure.
Thank you for having me. It's been a treat. So, wait, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to say thank you for everything that you're doing, Bear, because it's just Valiant for Men came to be because as a woman and all these other women who are reading Radiant, it was a cry. It was saying, where is something like this for our men? I mean, we need, and I believe they're out there, and I knew they were, these great Christian Catholic men who are not afraid to step up to their vocation. But they're a lot quieter sometimes. They're not always shaking the waters and stepping out there and where everyone can hear them. And that's exactly what you're doing. And the more I did these Valiant issues, we're on our third one, Bear, I have no words for what these men have to say. You know, from you might meet this guy who's kind of quiet and reserved, and then he gives this incredible article to me on the Mass. I mean, I was in tears. You've interviewed him before, the Catholic gentleman. I
Oh
don't know.
no, not that guy, not Sam Guzman.
Totally, Sam. And maybe he is not super outspoken.
No, he's the guy. That guy's welcome on my show anytime.
Uh,
I love that guy.
So he put this article together for us on the Mass, and I kid you not, I wrote him back, and I'm like, this brings tears to my eyes. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and it's taking those everyday things like your walks on the beach or looking up at the night sky. We have all these articles about adventure, of course, in the New Valiant, and just how they're seeing God and this profound beauty and adventure in the simplest things. So I think that makes a world of difference.
I remember this. I remember having extended times of kind of prayer, like intercession, and seeing a need for a men's magazine and praying about it and saying, Lord, I see the need. How am I going to be able to do it? How am I going to be able to pull off doing a radio show, a TV show, and then a men's magazine? Because I knew it was needed, and I knew I just didn't have the extra. And then all of a sudden, magically appears Valiant Magazine. And so we're such great, and it couldn't have been more well-conceived, more well-named, more well put together. And it's such a relief to me that I didn't have to do it. And I don't think I could have. But I had that need in my heart and was praying about it. And but you did it. And it's such a beautiful magazine, Valiant Magazine. Okay, so now I want to ask you a question. So we asked about the 10 things, men want a women to be, and you could only come up with 2. But I'm going to pretend like no one knows who you are, and I want you to talk right at the men and say, this is what a woman, okay, let's start out this way. This is what single women are looking for in a man. And then what a woman in relationship wants to see to sustain it. So what is it a woman is looking for in a man out there? What is a good woman, we want to qualify it, looking for in a man?
They want strength, Bear. They don't want these guys who are too scared to call them, so they just text them. They don't want these guys who are too scared to ask them out, so they try to feel them out first. They want strength. They want a guy who says, you know what, you're worth it. You're worth it enough that I'm going to take this chance and ask you to do something, whether we get coffee, whether we, go bowling. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but we want strength, and we want a guy to follow through and really, really stand up for what he believes in, whatever that may be.
Well, I disagree with you. I think bowling is radical.
I think bowling is fun.
Let's spend the rest of the conversation talking about bowling. No, but seriously, this is true. One of the first things I think a woman looks for in a man is that sense of confidence. And I want to say this. Self-esteem pretty much comes from your mom. But self-confidence comes from accomplishment, from setting goals and achieving them. And a woman can see the difference in a man who, in a sense, is accomplished and a man who's a wallflower, because they're just something they exude by their nature. It may be an accomplishment as simple as saying, I'm going to bench press 250 pounds, or an accomplishment of I'm going to get my degree, or an accomplishment of I'm going to work hard. And it's, there's something about men that they need to set goals and achieve them. And when they have that, there's that sense of confidence. But sometimes even the most confident man like that won't step forward. Maybe the scariest thing they could do in life is to step forward and get into social environments where they meet women, or where they could even approach a woman. So I want you to hammer that point home. Let's hear that point from you one more time.
Well, and the other thing too I want to point out is there's such a difference, isn't there, between confidence and arrogance? Because confidence is so important, but we meet those guys all of the time. I did this, and you're just like, oh, I want to throw up. I don't care. Like, there's such a difference. So the balance for every man, I guarantee every single woman will find a man attractive who is humble and who is confident. If you can mar those two by putting Jesus first and understanding that he gave you your gifts and you went out and did it, you didn't sit around and not do things that he asked you to do, hands down, the guy's gonna win.
So will you differentiate for me, because I think it's a great statement, the difference between self-confidence and arrogance?
The difference is thinking that you did it. So when a guy meets a girl and he's like, oh, I did this, oh yeah, and I'm the captain of this, and obviously they're probably trying to impress the girl, but that's not what we love to hear. We want to hear that, hey, I felt really called to do this, and I tried to do this, but you know what? It was a team effort, or just recognizing all around you, and then maybe not the first date you're gonna spout off all the amazing things God's done in your life, but to recognize that we are here because of what God has done, and going from there, it can be unspoken. You can recognize a humble human being, especially a man, and it's so attractive.
I think one of the things that a humble man does, and I'm guilty of all that stuff, especially when I was younger, I did this and I did that. It shows a lack of self-confidence to speak like that. And one of the greatest, coolest things is like to shine the light on someone else. People come up to me, oh, you're on law. I had something happen to me the other day. Someone came up to me and said, are you that guy that works in that pizza shop? And I go, no, but he must be good looking. And then finally realized, oh, no, you're that guy on Long Ride Home. And I go, yeah, aren't I awesome? No, but I mean, I didn't say that. But when people will come up to me and recognize me, the best thing I can do, the most wonderful opportunity I have, is to shine the light on them, immediately begin to ask them questions and find out who they are and what. Because everybody, when I wrote my book, Deep in the Wave, A Surfing Guide to the Soul, that particular book is very transparent. I show my failings and all my challenges, but because of it, people will come up to me and they'll let themselves be vulnerable, and I'll ask some questions. One of the most confident things you can do as a man is to shine the light someplace else, to go deep with people. When someone talks to you, ask them another question. I have a friend of mine, Mike, a relative new friend of mine, a biker friend of mine. He goes, when people come up and talk to you, all of a sudden you give them their undivided attention, and you go deeper with people. They'll say things to you they wouldn't say to anybody else. That's because they want to sense in a man someone who genuinely cares about them and doesn't don't shine the light on yourself. That's the difference in confidence. When you're self-confident, you walk in a room and people know it. It's not like
true.
you don't walk in. You don't have to walk in. It's not like walking in with your chest puffed up and an arrogant look. It means you're smiling and you're happy and you're joyful. We're talking with Rose Rea. What are the two magazines we're supposed to subscribe to, and where do we find them?
Valiant Magazine and Radiant Magazine. And Valiant's for the men, Radiant's for the ladies. And then you can find them at valiant.osv.com and radiant.osv.com.
Okay, so this is coming up right on Valentine weekend when this airs, just after Valentine. So you men, buy this magazine for your woman, radiant.osv.com, and you women, buy this for your man, valiant.osv.com. There couldn't be a greater thing for you to bring into your home. These two magazines, they really show what a real woman is and what a real man is. We're talking with Rose Rea. Go to our website, by the way, deepadventure.com, and subscribe to our newsletter, because every week, the Saturday morning before this show airs on terrestrial radio, you get the show. So you can press a button and share it with your friends. You can be an evangelist. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Wozniak Adventure. Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Wozniak Adventure. I want to remind you guys, we have something that kind of, I don't know if anybody's really doing what we're doing. We have a private Facebook group. I know of the Catholic Man Show, those guys that I love so much, David and Adam. They have a private Facebook group just for men called the Council of Man. You should consider joining that. But we have one called the Bears Man Cave, which is about 1.5% better than the Council of Man by Adam and David. Actually, theirs is pretty cool. I'm a member. But the Man Cave, the Bears Man Cave, is for men, only. And the only way you can join it is by going to our website, BWA322 It costs you $10 a month to join it. Why do we charge you $10 a month? Because we really need funds. So we appreciate it when you do that. but the men can go there, join Bears Man Cave. You get a free whiskey tumbler or a Bears Man Cave coffee mug or beer mug. And then you're part of this private Facebook group. But you got to go to our website, BWA322 to join it. And then we post stuff from like John Wayne or John Paul II or Sam Guzman's the Catholic Gentleman or Rich Lamb's Grumpy Dad. We post cool stuff like that to that page, and the men begin a dialogue with each other. They pray for each other. We talk about what's really going on in our lives, and once every 2 weeks or so, we have like a video meetup. So we go live on a video chat type ability, and we have like maybe 20 men there, and we talk story. We get to know one of the men. I interview him for about 10 minutes, and then we go through my book, Deep Adventure, The Way of Heroic Virtue. We read maybe a page or so, and we just talk story about that, and we do it exactly for 1 hour, so it doesn't take too much time. And basically, our desire is to teach people, to get other men to start man caves. There are a lot of great programs. I think of like the That Man Is You program. Usually takes place in a church basement, but it's really tough to get a friend to go. But you can get him to come over and have a cigar on your back deck. You can get him to go to a sports bar. You can get him to go to have breakfast in the morning and say, look, we're going to read Deep Adventure, The Way of Heroic Virtue or some other book. I love G.K. Chesterton, for example. And just kind of read maybe only a paragraph, but get a dialogue started at a deeper level. And we always make a rule, no talking about politics. I have some friends that are very involved in politics, and guess what? They're doing something about it. But if all you're doing is getting really opinionated and vociferous, that doesn't accomplish anything. But anyways, we focus on Jesus and about what's really going on in our lives. And there's one more thing. I'm going to introduce for a moment our guest, Rose Rea, is with us. She's the editor of Radiant Magazine for Women and Valiant Magazine for Men. Aloha, Rose.
Hi.
Hey, I want to tell you something that we're doing. We have this cool thing called the 7 Virtue Cigars. we have 7 cigars, and each of the virtues, the 7 virtues, each cigar is a different blend. And one of us, for example, Coraggio. It says in Latin Coraggio, in English courage. And then there's a label, a beautiful painting of the Renaissance image of the woman that represents that virtue. And then it's an easy to peel off label, because what happens, you smoke about a third of that cigar, you got to peel off the label to enjoy the rest of it. And in there is a quote from one of my books on that particular virtue. So the men get these great cigars. They can go to our website and order us the cigar sampler. It's 7 cigars, 7 Virtue cigars. Share it with their buddy over the Super Bowl or whatever they're going to be watching, some sports event, and you go, oh, what's this? Oh, this is the 7 Virtue cigars. What is your virtue? And mine is faith. Oh, well, open it up. What does it say? Let's talk. So it's a way to talk story about the virtues in a manly way.
Is so cool. I'm so getting some for my husband. He would love that.
They're great cigars too. My cigar aficionado friends love them. And so we're saying that to say, guys, join Bears Man Cave. We need your financial support. It's only $10 a month. But the dividend of being part of this private Facebook group and getting to be in the video chat room and getting your free Bears Man Cave whiskey tumbler is amazing. Okay, so we have Rose Rea with us. She is the editor of Valiant Magazine for Men and Radiant Magazine for Women. Tell us more about women, what women want to... Okay, now, we've talked a little bit about what a single woman is looking for in a man. Now you're all married up. You got a baby maybe on the way, or a baby here and another baby on the way. What is it a woman is looking for in a husband? What does she want to see? What does she really need in her husband?
Gosh, good question. I think what as married wives, we just want continued support, continued love, and understanding. You know, these little things can happen where someone misunderstood something and someone can get all bent out of shape. And I mean, that's Satan just trying to put a little wedge sometimes in between, because you know, as husband and wife, you're doing so many different things, taking care of children, jobs, etc. So just having that open communication and understanding each other, especially when we screw up, because again, we're human. Tell me one person who's perfect, you know. And I think that's the problem with a lot of divorces is, oh well, you can't do this, so you're out. Are you kidding me? Well, you're not perfect either. So it's just a balance game. But I do have to say, your bear or your man cave is brilliant. I because girls, again, I said earlier, they talk and talk and talk. Guys don't do that so much all of the time, but get them together like what you're doing. My husband will straight up tell me, he'll say, Rose, I share my heart and soul with you, but there are certain things that I can share with my brothers, meaning his friends, his teammates in the military, that when you have that close friendship with a guy, I mean, there are just ways that you can be open with each other that no one else understands. I will never understand as a woman. So I think it's so beautiful in your spiritual way that you guys can grow together. I mean, that's just what a man needs.
So
Just
you
as a
want
woman.
your man to have other masculine relationships, someone, you want them to forge real friendships, not
Yeah.
friendships even. Like on a long ride home, we started out as friends. At the end of the first season, we were brothers. I know what your husband is saying. Um, so you want your man to be able to actually have relationship other than with you.
Yes.
He needs true emotional support, encouragement, and challenge. As the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. I had a
Mm.
conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He's about to really come up to a new level of ministry, and I said, I got to talk to you. Went to another room, and I just got in his face. I just laid it out. I might even use one inappropriate word, but actually I didn't. I just used the first letter of it. But I got in his face, and he got puffed up, and then just got humble. And I go, yeah. Do you want people to see you, or do you want them to see the Lord? But guess what? He's done the same thing to me many times. Iron sharpens iron. There's an encouragement. There's a challenge, and there's also a way of saying, "Oh, you're dealing with that too? I thought I was the only one."
So
So,
true.
yeah, we definitely need. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you something. The man cave concept is so cool. I'm up, stand up paddling on my board, and all of a sudden, the man cave. First, it came to me as a book, and so I'm writing it, do that, and we're over there in Israel. And I'm asking Father Don Calloway, hey, do you think we're going to see very many caves in Israel? And he goes, yeah, we might see a couple. He was being facetious. Every holy site just about is a cave. Whether it's Elijah's cave, or the cave where Jesus taught his disciples the Our Father, or it's private cave Jesus used to pray, or where Mary, the Annunciation, or the primacy of Peter, or of course the ultimate man cave, the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus died and was resurrected. So I'm writing this book, starting with G.K. Chesterton's talking about the prehistoric cave, and Plato's cave, and David's cave of Adullam, where the misfits all gathered and became a great army. So we're going through this whole thing of the man caves, like little 6 or 7 page chapters that men could read together when they got together for breakfast or something like that. So isn't that a crazy cool idea?
I love it. And even in the new Valiant Bear, we have an article called or it's called A Brotherhood, because we want
Show us
guys
the
to
article.
know. It's
For
called
for those who are watching on YouTube, Rose is raising up this great magazine, Valiant magazine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and actually, sorry, it's not actually this one. It's the one coming out in March. It has this amazing, wait till you see the cover, Bear. You're going to love it. But anyway, and I was praying about it, Bear, and I'm like, how do these guys, because it really affected me when my husband was like, we're brothers, and he has that in his special forces teams, but what about every other guy, so you're having that in your man cave, but not every guy feels like they're in a brotherhood. So we went back to the beginning in prayer. It was like, who was this amazing brotherhood? Was the disciples. They were from all walks of life, and they came together after Jesus called them, and they said yes. And I wanted the guys to know that, you don't have to be perfect. These guys came from crazy backgrounds, poor backgrounds, tax, everything. And so this writer did a phenomenal job, this male writer, of just pointing out, like, this is a
Well,
brother.
send me some. You know what I'll do, Rose? I would love to interview every one of those writers.
Yeah, it
Let's
would
just
be,
let's
you would
let's
have
just
a great.
just send them to me before the magazine or when it comes out. Like the most recent one. Let's interview some of those guys. I really love your magazine. We're talking to Rose Rea. She's the founder of Radiant Magazine for Women, Valiant Magazine for Men. They're beautiful books. They're kind of the books you would never throw, magazines you would never throw away. You would just leave them in your library. This is Bear Wozniak with the Bear Wozniak Adventure. We've run out of time. Rose, uh, put me in touch with your authors from the last magazine, and we will definitely interview them. And then we'll talk story with when your new one comes out. Give this subscription to the magazines radiant.osv.com for women, and for men valiant.osv.com. Go there, men and women. Give them to the woman in your life. Give them as a gift. This is Bear Wozniak with the Bear Wozniak Adventure. Subscribe to our newsletter at deepadventure.com. Till next week, Viva Cristo Rey, and aloha, Rose.
Aloha. Thank you so
Mahalo,
much.
mahalo nui loa. Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
Can you hear me, Bear?